to the viewers for joining us in today's session. We have Mr. Pratik, who is the co-founder of School of Accelerated Learning. He is joining us to talk about celebrating passionpreneurs and following your own way in your own journey. Welcome, Mr. Pratik, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tanvi.
How are you
Good
doing?
speaking with you. I'm doing good. Thanks for
Definitely.
inviting me up here. It has been great interacting with you just before our conversation as well, and
Yes.
I'm very happy with the work that my ways are doing, and yeah, happy to support you all in any way.
Yes.
Tell me.
Yes, like definitely to start with, how maybe something about your background and how you started on this journey and how your so as to say coincidence or a planned decision with entrepreneurship in that sense, and how did you come about this sector?
So I don't think I'd be able to answer was it a coincidence or was it a planned thing to get into entrepreneurship. But yeah, I have been an entrepreneur for more than a decade now.
Right.
Immediately after college, after my undergraduation, after few months of a stint at a manufacturing outfit, started out with my college friend at that time, Raj Desai, and who's a co-founder with me right now as well. That's all.
Okay.
So we always used to sit and discuss a lot of problems. A lot of problems. We always knew that, okay, you know what, we want to solve something, we want to do something.
Yes.
And we used to discuss problems right from not having good internet to not having a good delivery system for mangoes to something as random as that.
Right.
We always used to discuss problems that, here's the key, that we used to face ourselves. Not random problems, but more often than not, problems that we used to face.
Right.
We used to discuss that. We used to just generally think of solutions. We used to, obviously, since we used to come from a very business oriented circle, I would say, nothing else, be it college, be it friends, family, whatever. But because there was a lot of talk and chatter around business problem solution, our thought process was always attuned. Back then, there was not too much of social media to create a larger echo chamber. But yeah, because we came from that perspective, we always used to think, okay, you know what, this is the problem that we're facing. How can we solve it? And if this problem is big enough for us to want to solve it, not just for us, but for a larger number of people. That's what we used to do. So it was through one of such discussions where we ended up starting an internet company, if I may call it so. Back then, there was no 3G, there was no 4G, there were hardly any Wi-Fi hotspots available. So if you are out of your home to be able to access internet, A, fast speed internet, B, affordable internet was not that easy.
So this
It
was
used to
back
be
in
very difficult.
2012.
This was back in 2011.
Okay.
So a decade ago. So it wasn't easy to get good quality, affordable internet.
Right.
And we used to talk, we used to work a lot out of cafes. And we used to be like, hey, you know what, we want to sit down, research a little, we are not getting internet. And this problem persisted for a very long time.
Yes.
And that's when we stumbled upon that, hey, you know what, why don't we give free internet to people?
Right.
So that's how that problem started out. And then it was a rollerball effect that, hey, you know, okay, if we are giving free internet to people, why will a business or an organization want free internet? Also, just to remember, just very recently before that is when the Bombay terrorist attack had happened. So a lot about data security, internet security was going on, email leaks, God knows what all was there. However true it was, but all of that was there at the top of the of
In conversation.
people's mind. So our question was that if we are giving free internet, why will people want it? What can we give on top of that? So on and so forth. That's how we ended up building ThinkScreen, where we were a high density network deploy an Wi-Fi company,
Hmm.
wherein we build a lot of products on top of Wi-Fi.
Right.
Uh, so in the process of scaling things
Hmm.
green, is when we found a few more problems.
Right.
When we were scaling that organization,
Hmm.
and we were looking for people like us.
Hmm.
In very simple words,
Hmm.
we were looking for people like us who can look at a problem in a holistic way,
Right.
identify the problem,
Hmm.
go a few levels deep when it comes to solutioning of that problem,
Right. Right.
and actually build out that solution.
Hmm. 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 Right.
That's the simple brief we had to ourselves when we were
Right.
looking for individuals, and we had a very, very, very bad time.
Right. Right. Hmm.
We struggled so bad that we just not were able to find good product developers,
Hmm.
good people who understand problems and
Hmm.
are willing to look at solving those problems
Right.
through tech.
Right. That was actually
Uh,
what I was going to say, because you being from management backgrounds and your solution being very tech focused, right? So how
yeah,
was
so
the bridge?
that is one very
Huh.
important thing.
Hmm.
I'll actually come to that in a bit.
Okay. Sure.
So this is the problem I was telling you that we were facing. That hey,
Hmm.
you know what? We are looking for good people who can have good problem solving
Hmm.
ability and who can understand tech and the use of tech.
Right. Right.
Uh, Initially, we obviously thought this problem is to do with us. Probably we are a very small venture.
Hmm.
Probably we are in Bombay, where the
Hmm.
tech community didn't run too deep anymore. A bunch of them had migrated to Bangalore
Hmm.
with the whole startup scene bubbling up over there. So initially, we thought the problem is to do with us.
Yes.
That is when we started talking to a bunch of founders, CTOs,
Right.
engineering heads across the startup industry.
Right.
And we realized that this problem exists for everyone,
Hmm.
right from someone as small as us to someone as big as a Flipkart or a Snapdeal, which were the thing at that time.
Yes.
And that problem existed across.
Hmm.
Uh, and we're like, okay, you know what? This problem is a big issue.
Hmm.
uh, we identify, we try to dive deeper into the problem, and that's where we found education at the
Right.
core of it.
Right.
That how our education system currently is
Hmm.
so flawed, and probably flawed would be a little bit of an extent, but it is so tailor made for a
Right.
time we currently don't live in anymore.
Definitely. Yes. Hmm.
And that's where we found, okay, education. And that is when we started putting together pieces and we could relate. Now, this is where we could
Hmm.
relate to both aspects.
Right.
A, on the industry side, we could relate that these are the skills that we are looking for.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, our education system is not producing or
These
not
people.
building these skills amongst anyone.
Right.
So we face that problem.
Hmm.
Cut to 5 years or 8 years before that, we
Hmm.
faced another problem where both of us, we were management, commerce, economics graduates,
Hmm.
and we wanted to build something in tech.
Hmm.
Whenever we went to somebody saying that, hey, we want to go into tech,
Hmm.
it was a very, like, people don't understand this very well that, hey, non-engineers can also go into tech.
Right. Hmm.
And that is something we were desperate to break
Hmm.
uh, when we arrived to education. And we're like, we are examples for this for ourselves.
Right.
That if we can switch to tech, why can't anyone? And this is when we always used to think that, hey, you know what? If an engineer wants to get into, say, a very investment banking,
Hmm.
it's a very direct transition that we all know of. That
Right.
I'm going to do my engineering, probably I'm going to work for a year or two, I'm going to do my MBA,
Hmm.
I'm going to get into whatever finance or whatever role that I want.
Definitely.
That's an accepted and known way.
Hmm. Hmm.
Unfortunately, when it comes to tech, we don't look at skilling like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
If
Right.
I am to tell you that, hey, you know what, I'm a BCom graduate, I want to become a product engineer, people are going to stare at me that, hey,
Hmm.
you did not take science in
Right.
your 11th standard or 12th standard or whatever.
Right. Hmm.
How
Hmm.
can you become an engineer?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
That does not exist. That is not true.
Definitely. Hmm. 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 Right.
You can be from any field and
Hmm.
you can switch to tech or any other field for that matter
Right.
at any point of time
Hmm.
in your life.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
What a management or learning certain languages, learning English or
Mm-hmm.
math was back then. That is what understanding tech is now.
Right, right. And with the
And
advent of
that,
the, sorry, you can
yeah,
complete.
no, I think that is the critical aspect that we need to all remember and think of it.
Yes, definitely. And with the advent of the pandemic in this, like last year has seen disruptive technology, and I'm sure the ecosystem completely needs more innovative tech to cope up as a whole. Definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is what brings together a couple of things. One is, yes, the education ecosystem definitely was put up on its feet
Right.
for it to realize that, hey, you know what, we need to really figure out something because people can't get out of the houses.
Right.
And remember, why I this also ties into why I was saying India as an education system is so flawed. There are, I would say, three to four major issues. One is we are so used to being spoon fed everything. We
Definitely.
want to be spoon fed every little thing.
Hmm.
That does not cut it.
Right.
Second is at each and every step, we are told that failure is bad, failure is wrong. That does not cut it. What that does is it limits us. What that does is it limits us from exploring new things.
Hmm.
And what that does is it completely limits us from a solution point of view.
Right.
So
Right.
the this is the next biggest flaw of our upbringing from an academic perspective, that we
Hmm.
are told failure is wrong and failure is bad.
Right.
That is not true.
Hmm.
Every time you fail, you have to look back how you failed, why you failed. You will learn something new out of it, and then take that learning and then proceed forward. Probably fail again, take a new learning and proceed forward.
Right. Right.
What this does, it brings us to the third problem, which is we don't end up exploring
Hmm.
new things because we feel we will fail and we are
Right.
scared of
Right.
failing.
Right. And we follow certain paths that have been told to us. Right.
Absolutely. And the fourth
Hmm.
biggest, I would say, problem with
Hmm.
our system is feedback. We are not used to taking or giving good feedback.
Hmm.
We are scared of feedback. We are scared of somebody telling us that, hey, Pratik, you were wrong. You
Hmm.
did this thing wrong because of this.
Right.
We do not like that.
Hmm.
And we can't even give good feedback. We can't even point out very well that what a person should do
Right.
differently.
Right. Right. Right.
So now look at these four issues, and now imagine you have to cater to your students
Hmm.
who are not close to you
Hmm.
on an online platform.
Right.
These four problems just explode in your head.
Right. 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 Right.
How is somebody going to spoon feed if they are not next to me?
Hmm.
How am I going to learn?
Hmm.
How am I going to deal with failure?
Right.
While all of this is happening, how am I going to explore new things? And when I'm not in front of you, how are you going to give me feedback who is not even used to giving me normal feedback?
Right. 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 Right.
So imagine
Hmm.
these three problems got so vastly amplified. And not just that, today's work, what this also did, the pandemic,
Hmm.
I'm not yet talking about the platforms and how the
Right.
platforms have need to evolve,
Right.
but us as learners
Hmm.
need to evolve is what this has gotten to the forefront and center.
Right.
That going forward, the industry is not going to be like how we know it as of now.
Hmm. Definitely.
We are not going to spend time on
Hmm.
memorizing things. We are not going to be spending time on coordination. We are not going to be spending time on organizational skills.
Right.
All of that is going to evolve to creative collaboration, is going
Right.
to evolve to virtual collaboration, to computational thinking, to
Hmm.
complex problem solving,
Right.
through building empathy from for each other who we are not even next to each other.
Right.
Whether we are studying or working,
Hmm.
we are so far apart, it
Right.
becomes even more important for us to build empathy. So these skills
Hmm. Hmm.
we just don't have, and we just are not building in our current academic system.
Right.
So
Definitely.
what that calls for
Hmm.
is a new system of learning, a reimagined university, if I
Hmm.
may call it so,
Right.
which builds these skills amongst us, which
Right.
builds a growth mindset. So here the issue, which also brings me back to the platform thing,
Hmm.
it's very easy for us to always, whenever we discuss education, it's very easy for us to discuss that, hey, you know what? The platform needs to evolve.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's more often than not, 95% of the conversation I talk about, when I'm talking with people about education and the problems in education, they're talking about teaching being the problem.
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to clarify for you,
Hmm. Hmm.
teaching as a problem is being solved over the past 2 decades.
Hmm. 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 Definitely.
Something as, I'll give you an example, something as random as
Hmm.
from blackboards to whiteboards to presentations to a Zoom call.
Zoom call. Yeah.
All of this is teaching being teaching evolving. What
Definitely.
we don't do is we don't recognize the second part of the puzzle, that we ourselves as learners need to evolve.
Right.
We
Right.
need to build a different kind of mindset.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
And that is what I believe is very critical. And for everyone who is listening over here,
Hmm.
I'm sure each person is a very, very ambitious
Right.
individual. They
Right. Right.
aspire not to just get a good first job. That's not the
Hmm.
goal. The
Hmm.
goal is to have a sparkling and
Hmm.
a crazy long
Craft.
professional career.
Right. 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 Right.
And I believe that everyone listening over here is looking for that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that is why it is very, very important that we understand or realize that just being good at some technical skill is not good enough.
Right. Definitely.
We need to build a lot of something called future work skills to
Hmm.
be able to survive and grow in a good manner
Right.
in the coming times.
Right, right, definitely. Just whatever the past 5 minutes, a headline is flashing in my mind. Newspapers often say that 60%, 70% engineers are not employable in our country. To contrary to the fact that the issue of companies not finding those people, right? So very evidently, there's a gap between.
Abs-
Yes,
Absolutely. I can tell you more of those statistics, but I think all of us know that
right,
things like 95% of the engineers are not industry
right,
ready.
right,
Things like only 3% are skilled for startup jobs.
right.
There are a bunch of
Definitely. Mhm.
statistics over there. There are a bunch of statistics and
Yes.
reports done by NASCOM and the biggest organizations, which say why digital skills,
Mhm.
digital future work skills
Right.
are the need of the hour, and each and every one of us needs to. So just one little tidbit from one such report by NASCOM.
Mhm.
There are 8 million people that graduate this year
Right.
from India.
Right.
Out of those 8 million people, only 8 million is 80 lakh people.
Mhm.
Out of that, only 45 to 50,000 people are digitally uh, skilled. And by
Right.
digitally skills, I don't mean knowing how to use a phone, but
Mhm.
digital future work skills.
Right.
Only 45 to 50,000 people.
Mhm.
And that is the kind of gap that we are looking at.
Right. Right. Right.
And that is why it is very, very important that I go not just to learn JavaScript,
Mhm.
but I go and learn how do I build a product? Who
Right.
is going to use that product? Why are they going to be using it? How can I solve that problem? That
Right.
mindset is very, very important.
Definitely. It brings me to the question. So there are students who struggle with something like that. You said how to basically they to have that mindset. Have that uh, uh, motivation or that mindset, so as to say, to become more employable. And at the end of the day, it's not only become being more employable, but also having that passion for your career in that sense, right? So, any tips or any observations that you would have that would really helps the student to create a mindset to have that push. So, because all these activities and all these extra efforts do require a lot of motivation and self discipline, self learning in that sense.
Yes. So I'm going to split that into two, and I'm going to ask you to repeat the second part of the question.
Right.
But yeah, when it comes to what can people do to build a career, to build that mindset first. First, let's talk about to build that mindset. It's very, very important that it's don't look at it as a big task that you have to achieve.
Right.
Uh, Look at it as small habits that we want to inculcate amongst us. Small habits like every time I am going wrong, I'm going to look at why did I go wrong? How did I go wrong? What could I have done differently?
Right.
Analyze that, evaluate that, and apply that. Uh, Habits like this. Habits like when you're going into learning something, don't stick to don't stick to just the technical aspect. Go 5 levels deeper. There is something called, we do something at Soul, something very commonly known as first principles thinking.
Okay.
When I'm solving for problems, I want to go down to the basic truth of the matter.
Right.
So if I have a problem, I will question that problem. Then I will keep going. I will keep answering the questions that I'm asking till I arrive at only the base truth that exists, and then start building from there.
Right.
Say for example, so one very famous example around this is, and Elon Musk uses first principles thinking.
Right.
That is why he could get down the fuel cost of a rocket ship from where it was to I don't know what uh, tenth of it,
Right. Right.
by using simple first principles thinking. Because what we do is, we are in our everyday decision making and in our everyday actions, there are so many biases that exist
Right.
because of which we make those decisions. So there are a lot of assumptions involved over there. Start questioning that when you're taking those actions.
Right.
And when it comes to more tangible things, when to build a career and build a mindset and build that entire perspective, give yourself that opportunity or chance. Uh, there are lots of things that you can do. So, we usually tell all our learners that a career, to get to that sweet spot of a great career, there are three things. There are means, there are motives, there are opportunities.
Right.
You need to take actions which fulfill all these three things. What are the means? Means are actually understanding the building the skill. It can be any skill. So do side projects, do hobby projects, pick up hobbies, keep solving. Even if you want to try a new thing, but build it. Like say for example, a few days back, one of the learners came to us who just joined the program, and they were like that, hey, in the first week itself, I am building a product, but I do not understand the basics.
Right.
And he's like that, oh, I want to learn the basics. And when we spoke, he realized that he actually started working on things. And by working on things, he actually started understanding the basics. Typically, what we are used to is, if we have to learn something, I'm going to read something, and basis that, I'm going to automatically, magically learn.
Right.
If I can reproduce what I have read, therefore I have learned. That's not true.
Right. Right.
Get your hands dirty, start building things, start failing, and you will realize how much faster you can grow and learn. So yeah, means, do things that help you with the means. Do side projects, hobby projects, shadow somebody you want to work with, or things like that. Motives, you have to, your motive can always be shifting.
Right.
Somebody will have a motive to get a job, somebody will have a motive to just build a product, somebody will have a motive to solve somebody's problem, to help someone, somebody will have a product motive to get financial independence. The motive can be whatever.
Right.
Align your motive and then look for the right opportunity as well.
Right. Right.
So we do a deep dive into this thing we called the long game of career,
Right.
where we say that don't look at your career as a sprint, look at it as a very long marathon. And when you start looking at your career as a long marathon, that is when you start realizing that the smaller things that you need to do for a much larger gain in the future, uh, you have been ignoring. A very simple concept of compounding is something that we are so averse to. because it is small contribution every little day, and we want to avoid that.
Right. And
We
similarly,
want instant gratification, and
right.
that is what we need to tell ourselves. Everything is not about instant gratification. uh, Different kind of gratification should be involved with.
Definitely. Again, my way is also like we also similarly talk to the students about successful career not being a destination but a journey in that sense of everyday growth.
Absolutely.
Right, right. Which also in this conversation of means, motives, and opportunities, I also believe that students often are restricted because they fear or they have the assumption of lack of resources, which I believe in today's time is an assumption that students should absolutely forget about in that sense, because these days everything, whatever you want to do is there. You just have to put your hand out in the market in that sense, definitely.
Absolutely, Tani. Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more.
Yes.
Uh, so I'll tell you a little story. Back when we were starting Soul, this is nearly uh, 3 to 5 years back.
Right.
We were thinking of creating our own content, and
Right.
we were talking about this very problem. And we are talking about it now, 5 years down the line. Even 5 years back, we had this conversation where we said that, you know what, I can create the best content,
Mm-hmm.
but and I will tell you, okay, I'm creating the best content. Tomorrow, I will come with the best content that exists.
Hmm.
But I will also tell you, day after, there will be better content. The internet is
Right.
so vast, so huge,
Hmm.
so full of resources
Mm-hmm.
that the problem is not lack of content. The problem is your ability to find it. The
Right.
problem is the structure and the guidance that you need to
Definitely.
pick and understand what is the right content for you, what is the
Right.
right resource for you.
Mm-hmm.
That is the skill that one needs to build.
Right.
That understanding what works for me, what does not work for me. This
Hmm.
again ties to failure, because we are scared to fail. We are
Hmm.
not going to try new resources, because we do
Exploration
not
and
try new
mentoring. Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
We do not know what works for us, and more importantly, what doesn't work for us.
Hmm.
You will be shocked and surprised to
Hmm.
realize and understand how many of the problems that we talk about
Hmm.
actually boil down to those four problems that I
Hmm.
spoke about our education system.
Right, 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 definitely. Right. It again, it comes down to what we talked at the start of our conversation about exploration and finding
Absolutely.
those, yeah, those helping
Absolutely. So
hands.
that's also
Hmm.
what we do at Soul. At
Right.
Soul, every learner that comes in,
Mm-hmm.
our aim, yes, obviously, it is very obvious. If you're doing the product engineering
Hmm.
program, you're going to become a kick-ass product engineer. You are going to l- learn how to code. All of that is very, very obvious.
Hmm.
But more critical aspect is we work with you on building that mindset, building
Right.
those success skills,
Hmm.
making you take the agency of your learning, making
Hmm.
you take the responsibility of your learning,
Hmm. Hmm.
and by the virtue of telling you that if you face a problem, the solution. We will give you a framework which will help you find the solution.
Right, right. Uh,
Look for the solution for yourself. Yeah,
One second,
yeah, that,
Pratik, I think there was a internet gap. I missed the past 30 seconds.
no worries. So I was telling this is what we do at Soul
Yes. Hmm.
as well. That sorry, where did you hear me tell?
I heard till what we were doing at Soul, how Soul came in. After that, I lost you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is what I was saying. This is what we do at Soul as well.
Hmm.
That obviously, if you are joining the product engineering program at Soul, you are going to be a kick-ass product engineer. You are going to learn how to code and write really great code,
Right, right.
and build great products. That is very obvious.
Hmm.
But the bigger focus for us to be able to build that mindset
Right,
within you,
right, right,
that will something we call success skills, something we call career intelligence.
right, 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 right.
Building those skills within you is what is important for us.
Hmm.
If you
Right.
come, if you're a learner at Soul, and if
Hmm.
you're, say for example, you're a product,
Hmm.
you're pursuing product engineering at Soul, you're facing
Right.
a little problem with some piece of code that you're writing,
Hmm.
you come to us that, hey Tanvi, I'm facing a little problem with this piece of
Hmm.
code that I'm writing. Now, Tanvi obviously knows how to solve it, but Tanvi is not going to solve it for
Right.
me.
Right.
Tanvi will ask me a few questions
Hmm.
and help me find the solution for this.
Right. Right.
Tanvi will probably guide me to a few resources, will
Hmm.
guide me to where I can find the answers on the internet, will
Right.
ask me questions which may make me realize what I'm doing wrong.
Right.
Tanvi is not going to spoon feed me.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
My
Hmm.
educator or my catalyst, they are going to ask me the right questions so that I can go and figure out the solution for myself. Because it's again,
Hmm.
once you're done with the program, once you're out there professionally working, whether for your own venture, your freelance project, your somebody's organization, wherever you are working, whatever you are doing,
Hmm.
you are not going to be you're having an angel behind your back standing,
Hmm. Hmm.
always waiting to help you when you are stuck. You need to
Right.
learn those skills by yourself,
Right. 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 Fair enough. Fair enough.
and that is what is very very important.
Hmm. 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 Definitely. Definitely. I think having that mindset and having that attitude of uh, trying fast and failing and learning from that is
Absolutely.
very important. Definitely. Coming back to where we started to your journey, what do you think? So, having worked across three ventures, I would say in three different sectors in the market, what do you think has been maybe some things that you personally were proud of overcoming in that sense, and what has motivated you across the past decade to try fast and fail fast?
A lot of learning. Like you said, these ventures have gone across tech and networking and media, entertainment,
Hmm.
music,
Hmm. Hmm.
experience to
Hmm.
education and learning and experience.
Right.
Uh, One thing for me, which is very, very important, is definitely that solving a new problem
Hmm.
or challenge every day is what guides me, motivates me,
Right.
makes me wake up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, Solving a problem that is much bigger than me
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
what has gotten not just me, but everyone at Soul
Right.
together.
Right.
What we are solving for is much, much bigger than us.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
uh, and that kind of motivation, if there is some problem in your life,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you may not always find these problems,
Right. Right.
but if there is something that you can relate to so closely
Hmm.
and which you believe is much bigger than you,
Hmm. Hmm.
and in this case such a big thing,
Right.
that itself makes me want to wake up every day charged up, wanting to go out and
Right.
battle and solve it every little minute.
Right.
What motivates to continuously fail fast, learn fast is simple. That it's there is not going to be any growth, and we learned this very very early on.
Hmm.
In my college days, I don't know if this is a good thing to say when a lot of the listeners are going to be from college, but I didn't spend time in classrooms at all.
Hmm.
I used to be busy with my college festivals
Right.
8 months out of 12 months.
Hmm.
At an age of 17 or 18,
Hmm.
uh, because of everything we were doing,
Hmm.
we learned how to talk with corporates
Right.
and get 50 lakhs in sponsorship. We learned how to get 40,000 people at one
Hmm.
place. We
Hmm.
learned how to work with construction set workers to and learn how to put a bamboo set together and what are the motivations of those people. There,
Right.
there
Right.
was a vast
Hmm.
breadth of learning that happened,
Right. Right. Right.
and that is what made us realize that you are going to fail when
Hmm.
at that early age you're
Hmm.
doing so many things.
Hmm.
You realize that every time you fail, that is something, there is something very very interesting,
Hmm.
that as we very commonly say, दिमाग की बत्ती जल जाती है.
Huh, right.
जैसे you fail, you're
Hmm.
like, oh,
Hmm.
oh, this is why I failed.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if I do this differently,
Hmm.
maybe I won't.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's all you have to apply.
Hmm.
Very so we give this. I'll give you an example.
Right.
If I start a new game, say if I start playing PUBG,
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
the first time I play PUBG, I am ought to die in the first couple of
Right.
minutes. Very honestly and very
Hmm.
realistically, I did.
Hmm.
I know most of the people who did.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that, oh, PUBG is shit. No, that's the journey, that's the process.
Right, right.
I will realize, कि, okay, this, but now just because I died once, I know what
Hmm.
not to do.
Right,
Similarly, similarly, I do this 10 times more. I will learn 10 new things what not to do.
right, right, right.
Eventually, I know I'm going to be acing that game or enjoying the journey in the process as well.
Right,
So
definitely.
that's what motivates me, and
Hmm.
that's what is for me.
Right. So there are people who often think about problems or talk about problems. Then out of them, there are few who actually think about the solutions of those problems. And then out of those, there are people who actually work on the solutions of the problem and have the guts to actually try different things and explore. But definitely in today's environment and today's market, I feel a lot many students have that passion of and also have that mentorship and examples, so as to say representation, and people like you, and there are a lot of people who help students with mentorship and other things, definitely. And that's really great. I think we can end on this note. Anything as a closing note you would want to say and suggest and give tips on?
I think I've spoken enough. I think to summarize everything, the
Right.
only thing that I can say is uh, there's a lot more potential than
Definitely.
most of the people who are listening to this
Think.
uh, believe that they have.
Right. Definitely.
If you think you can do X as of now,
Hmm.
put some confidence in you. I believe that most of
Definitely.
you can do 5x of what you think you can. There is
Definitely.
that much amount of potential that
Hmm.
exists amongst each one of us. It's just that we need to become very cognizant and aware
Hmm.
that it just requires little work, little effort. I
Right.
keep telling this very often. Everyone at us at Soul says this, that you want extraordinary
Hmm.
returns, you
Hmm.
want extraordinary results.
Right.
You are telling me that you want that.
Right.
You cannot get extraordinary returns with ordinary efforts.
Right. That's beautifully put.
Put
Yeah.
be willing to
Hmm.
put that effort in,
Right.
and sky is the
Sky's the
limit
limit.
after that.
Definitely.
uh, look at uh, things more holistically, and yeah, sky's the limit. That's the
Definitely.
only thing that I'd want to
Definitely.
conclude with.
Yes. Thank you so much, Pratik, for joining us and for sharing your thoughts with the students who will be seeing this eventually. And I appreciate you spending your time with us on a weekday
Thank you,
evening.
Tanvi. It was a pleasure, and always happy to talk to some enthusiastic individuals who are ambitious and want to do something about it. Very,
Right.
very happy
Definitely.
about it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hope this
Thanks,
helps.
Pratik. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye
You
bye.
too. Take care. Thank you.